January 10th, 49 BC, as Julius Caesar crosses the Rubicon in northern Italy in complete defiance of the Senate's direct orders and starting a civil war against Pompey, Caesar said, "Alea Jacta Est," the die is cast. Alea Jacta Est is also the name of a strategy game from the French development studio Alea Jacta. Released in 2012, it has received an handful of DLCs offering new scenarios to compete on. It is the last game credited to Philippe Thibault, yes, the man behind Europa Universalis, the board game and the video game. Alea Jacta Est is running on the now extremely antique Age game engine, and as every single older game on that engine, there is something you must know. RTFM. Read the fucking manual, that's all. If you plan on playing this game, you need to read the manual or at very least skim it intensively. Alea Jacta Est is, unlike Pride of Nations, a much more approachable title. Even might be the easier one with an almost tie with to end all wars. Nevertheless, if the game is relatively simplistic at its core, you need a fair share of critical thinking and in-depth knowledge of the mechanics to be able to achieve anything more than frustration. Speaking about frustration, the engine is a severe cause of it. One tip I can give you for all games based on the Age engine is to, every single time you start up the game, zoom out all the way as much as possible and excruciatingly slowly crawl around the map. This permits the engine to load up all the provinces in memory, which allows it to run significantly better. The game takes place during the Roman Civil Wars, but there are plenty of DLCs available for more scenarios. We have the Parthian War, the Birth of Rome, Spartacus, the Cantabrian Wars, and the Punic Wars. If it's still not obvious by this point, this game focuses heavily on the historical accuracy, history and combats alike. There are many scenarios to pick, and all of them always start in a war period. There is literally no peace in Alea Jacta Est. You will always be engaged in combat with foes until either victory or the end of the allocated time. Alea Jacta Est appears to be a complex game at first glance, somewhat due to the inefficiency of the aging Age engine, as well as the extensive numbers of extremely large and detailing numbers of menus and tooltips consisting almost solely of tiny text. You have to keep a balance on your money and national morale, as well as accumulate victory points. These three resources will be the essence of your antique war effort and must be carefully exploited to ensure a stable realm. But the core is easy to understand. Combats are straightforward and so are movements. You click and drag a unit to set an order and then end your turn. Everyone plays out at the same time and every turn is 30 days simulation. The orders set are executed and the AI is allowed a certain freedom of action to make sure that they stay alive and don't endanger themselves too much if the action makes absolutely no sense once the die is cast. Combat, on the other hand, is defined by the stance and rule of engagement select. You have 4 stances and 4 rows to select from, effectively giving your troops 13 different reactions to the situations and the field. If all is set properly, you will clash with the enemy forces in an out-of-screen combat, from which you'll be able to have an extremely detailed result that gives you plenty of information on this battle. There are lots of elements that are deciding factors, from your commanders to your troops' quality, with the terrain and weather playing critical parts of the engagement. The system goes very deep to better understand the factors of each result, and you will never be left in the dark onto what has happened unless you don't bother reading the clusterfuck of information you are bombarded by. Alea Jacta Est relies a lot on supplies. In fact, I found the best way to put it while RTFMing. One of the most daunting challenges faced by any military leader is keeping an army supplies with all the goods and services it needs to maintain itself in the field. Forget about strategy for a moment, it's logistics that wins most battles. Alea Jacta Est works with a supply system that very accurately recreates the problem faced by generals in this regard. Players that ignore the realities and limitations imposed by the ancient logistics soon find their forces rendered combat ineffective, or worse, simply melting away through attrition. The system is well made. You'll be able to have supply wagons or use your ships to resupply your campaigning armies. The graphics are definitely an acquired taste here. It is a blend of unappealing while still retaining something straight out of cardboard games. If you had the luxury to never play games with horrendous graphics before, you might just never click with what's available in Alea Jacta Est. If you had the chance to play Dwarf Fortress on the other end, then this will appear decades ahead in the graphic department. The terrain is beautiful looking and the character portraits are reasonable. One big letdown is the absolute lack of music in this game. It gives a permanent emptiness and solitude, which honestly should not be something to be reminded as you waste hours upon hours until the sun rises and you have to go work after a complete night of crushing barbarians on the Germanic border with the occasional brother blood feud. The rest of the sound available are the same stuff that you have in every other age game, so it gives enough sustainability to the action reaction of the game to differentiate it from a straight board game. Alea Jacta Est is a niche game, but for anyone well versed in the style or seeking to become an initiate to it, I believe it is the perfect title. You are bothered by a minimal amount of detail while still given a large freedom of the military operation. At first I did have an hard time to get into the game, but once I RTFM'd and understood more the game, I had a blast playing around submitting the enemy of Rome to the will of the people. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review, and if you did, make sure to subscribe for more and check out this tutorial on another Asiad game I made to end all wars. Thanks for watching and see you next time.